Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome back to another review of IMDb's top 50 greatest films of all time. And today we are discussing Saving Private Ryan, which came out in 1998. It is directed by Steven Spielberg and stars Tom Hanks, Tom Sizemore, Matt Damon, and also Vin Diesel is in this movie. So, chances are you've probably heard of Saving Private Ryan as one of the most well-known and well-respected films of the 1990s, and considered by many to be the best war film of all time. What's it about? So it's basically about, well, the film opens with the storming of Omaha Beach at Normandy in France. It opens with D-Day, and you see D-Day, and the first half hour of this movie is the events of D-Day, and I want to talk about that. I will talk about those scenes later on, but it follows Captain Miller, played by Tom Hanks, and his group, his squad, and them going through into German territory in Nazi-occupied France, and they soon come to learn that Private James Ryan, who we later learn is played by Matt Damon, all of his brothers, his three brothers that were also servicemen, have all been killed in action storming the beaches. James Ryan was a paratrooper, and he is lost somewhere in France, and this squad is reassigned to go and find him, bring him home. He is their mother's only living son. They want him to be home. They don't want all of them to die in the war. And it's about their search for Private Ryan. They're going to save Private Ryan. That is basically how you get the title of this film. It's about Tom Hanks and his group of World War II people going to save Private Ryan. And the movie is not my favorite, and I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, but I really am not the biggest fan of Saving Private Ryan. I think that there's many better war films out there. For example, Apocalypse Now, one of my favorite films ever. Now, it can be argued that it's not really a war film, it's more a psychological thing of trippy jungle stuff and things like that. It's been argued that Apocalypse Now is not really a war film, and I can see where you're coming from if you say that. This is a straightforward war film, and it's basically dedicated, especially the first half hour, is dedicated to showing you war is hell, and it does a really good job of doing that. These opening scenes are very difficult to watch. They're incredibly violent. The way that they're shot is masterful. The way that they do the camera work in these opening scenes is fantastic, because you start off in the boats, the boats, they're open on the top, they have the ramp, they come up to the beach, that ramp drops, and these people were told to just keep running through a hail of bullets and explosions over this beach, completely fortified by German infantry, and they're all getting shot at, and they have just been told to run, and they're covered in equipment. They have, guns, grenades, body armor, all this heavy stuff. And some of them had to jump into the ocean to avoid their boat exploding, and then they drowned because you can't swim if you weigh an extra 90 pounds and you're already a 200-pound soldier. It is really well done, the way that these scenes are shot in this film. This is easily the best part of the film from a technical standpoint, from a perspective of filmmaking. If you're looking at this film for the quality of filmmaking, then you have found the first half hour of Saving Private Ryan. It is incredibly well shot. All of it is done, or most of it is done with a handheld camera. So you follow these soldiers, they're running across the beach, and you see seawater and sand and blood, everything getting splashed onto the camera lens. So it's really immersive, is kind of the best way to describe it. And this is one of the only times in a film I've seen shaky cam used effectively. It makes you feel like you're there. It is a more immersive experience watching this film with the camera shaking all over the place. All you see are explosions, sand, dust, blood, water flying everywhere, gunshots ringing out in the distance. You don't know where you are. You feel disoriented, and it's incredibly, incredibly, incredibly well done. The film's also very realistic. It examines war, not as good and evil, similar to Apocalypse Now, but it's very morally gray. I think Leonard Maltin's review, which I will read in a moment, says that it's an examination of heroism in the battlefield, and I think that's a really good way to describe it. It kind of blurs the line between who are the good guys, who are the bad guys. Are the good guys still good guys when they're forced to do bad things? So I'm going to read Leonard Maltin's review, tell you what he thinks, and then I will start to tell you what I think of the film as a whole, and not just the first few minutes, the first half hour. It is a long movie. It is 169 minutes, so it's almost 3 hours long. Okay, let's see. Paul Giamatti's in this movie, I just realized. Okay. Trenchant World War II drama about an army captain, Hanks, assigned to take his squad of 7 men into France, locate a private whose 3 brothers have been killed in combat, and give him the ticket home. Conventional elements in the script are balanced by a genuinely complex examination of heroism in the field, and overpowered by the most realistic, relentlessly harrowing battle footage ever committed to a fiction film. Spielberg, aided immeasurably by cameraman, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, Kaminsky is his last name, so look that up if you want to learn more about him, and a superb creative team, has created the ultimate version of war as, the ultimate vision of war as Hell on Earth. Oscars include Best Director, Cinematography, and Editing. I think that all those Oscars are well deserved. Now, it was nominated for Best Picture, and it lost to Shakespeare in Love. Just let that sink in. The one with Gwyneth Paltrow, that one, it beat Saving Private Ryan. And I don't even like this movie that much, but Okay, so, is this film really as good as everyone says it is? I'm gonna say no. He gives it 3.5 stars. That is a really good review, and I would honestly give it closer to 2.5 or 3. I'd honestly give it between 2.5 and 3. So, is this a bad movie? Absolutely not. But is it the masterpiece that people praise it or claim it to be? I don't think so. The script is very generic at times, and it gets really melodramatic. There are a few really raw emotional scenes, especially one character death, which I will not spoil, but it is incredibly well done. It really, really is emotional. It is really intense, really good. And of course, I can't praise the first half hour enough. When I want to just discuss those scenes, but I don't want to watch them again, because as Mr. Maltin said, it is incredibly realistic and, quite frankly, difficult to watch at times. So, what is the best war film ever made? I can't really decide. I think that Saving Private Ryan is really the answer that everyone goes to, but I honestly believe that it's overrated. One thing I do want to discuss is this. Band of Brothers was an HBO miniseries in the early 2000s, and it is incredible. Funny story, I was going to watch Saving Private Ryan, and my Amazon streaming just kept buffering and buffering, so I'm like, I can't do this. So I got this, my dad and I watched it, not the whole thing. It is 11 hours, so you have to remember it's a different medium, so it's a different style of storytelling, it's not compressed into 2.5 hours. This is an 11-hour movie, basically. But it's incredible, and one thing that's really interesting, Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg present. Tom Hanks obviously started Saving Private Ryan, and it was directed by Steven Spielberg. So the fact that they later on went and produced this is kind of interesting, because I think that this is what Saving Private Ryan really wanted to be. Except Band of Brothers is a true story. All these people were real, all of their stories are real, and it makes it that much more impactful when you see these horrible things, the horrors of war, happening to these people, and you're like, this really happened, these are real people. Band of Brothers, each episode opens with kind of interviews or quotes, video footage of the veterans at the time this was filmed, or at the time Band of Brothers was filmed, which, if you're wondering, 2001 is when it came out. It's free on Amazon if you have Prime. I think it's on Netflix. Please do yourself a favor and go check it out. It is excellent. But there's one other thing that I want to discuss about Saving Private Ryan, and that is the ending. Now, I don't do spoilers here, so I'm not going to spoil the ending of this movie for you. I will, however, tell you why I don't like it. It's going to be difficult to do this without spoiling it. I'm sorry, but what I'm going to say is that the ending heavily relies on the use of Deus Ex Machina. Now, if you know me, you know that that's a term that I'm very fond of. I like to discuss Deus Ex Machina in film and television and books and graphic novels, things like that. I like to discuss it. But what it means, Deus Ex Machina, translates from Greek to God from the Machines, and basically it originated in Greek theater, where the protagonist would be in a unresolvable situation. They were doomed to certain death. It was going to be terrible. They're surrounded by the bad guys. And then suddenly, on a pulley system, God gets lowered down and just solves all the problems right then and there, and then goes back up. And everything is good. Everyone lives happily ever after. The end. This movie kinda does that, and I don't like it. It's at a scene where all hope seems to be lost, and then suddenly everything is better. I don't like discussing the endings of film, but I feel like I have to touch on that. So, the very end, however, the very end of the film is excellent. The very end is really, really, really good, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I really like the final shot, the final scene is fantastic, and the ending that I just discussed, the Deus Ex Machina, it is emotional, you know. It does what it was trying to do, but at the same time, you feel frustrated as you're watching it, because you kind of feel like the screenwriter really didn't know what to do, where to go from there, and that he just kind of ended it. He made it all get resolved. So, is this movie any good? Yes. Technically, it's incredible. The story is a bit shallow. The characters are pretty good. The actors do their best with their performances. It's emotional at times. The beginning is fantastically well done. And in the end, I'm going to say, as I said before, between 2.5 and 3 out of 4 stars. I'm not going to say that it's the masterpiece that Leonard Maltin and the entirety of the internet claims it to be. I'm going to say that this is not deserving of its placement on the top 250. Should it be on this list? Yes, I'm going to say anywhere between 150 and 70. It could fall anywhere in there. It's a really broad category, and if you like this movie, that is completely fine. I understand it. I know a lot of people do, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful or hateful toward fans of the film in any way. I'm just saying it's not really my favorite. So, have you seen Saving Private Ryan? What did you think about it? Tell me if you liked it. I want to hear your thoughts. Next week is, I can't read it, American History X. I'm looking forward to reviewing that with you guys, and please remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below where you could just see me pointing, and I will see you in the next episode of me reviewing movies. Adios.